Deep within the asteroid belt, the research vessel Nightshade drifted silently among the rocks, its quantum stealth systems making it indistinguishable from the surrounding space. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at her observation post, her dark eyes fixed on a holographic display showing an approaching fleet of massive ships at the edge of the solar system. They moved with the confidence of predators who had never known defeat. Another scan completed. Her AI assistant Araya reported 57 vessels in total. Energy signatures match known Concordia warship configurations. They're running active sensors, but our Phantom ecosystem is feeding them exactly what they expect to see. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. For 3 centuries, humanity had prepared for this moment, while broadcasting primitive radio signals into space and maintaining a carefully crafted image of a species just beginning to reach for the stars. Earth's true technological development had progressed in absolute secrecy. The Concordiad Empire had conquered thousands of worlds, always following the same pattern: identify developing civilizations, approach them when they achieve basic spaceflight, and offer them a choice between submission or annihilation. Their arrogance had made them predictable. Their certainty had made them vulnerable. Signal from command, Araya announced. Operation Thunderbolt is now active. All vessels are to maintain stealth protocols until Phase 2 begins. Sarah acknowledged the order and turned to her crew. This is what we've trained for. The Concordia thinks they're about to subjugate another primitive species. Instead, they're about to learn why humanity chose to hide in plain sight. Throughout the solar system, thousands of advanced warships lay hidden in asteroid fields, gas giant atmospheres, and artificial quantum pockets of spacetime. Each vessel carried weapons and defensive systems that had never been tested in actual combat, developed through centuries of paranoid preparation for this exact scenario. The Concordia fleet moved closer, their scans showing exactly what humanity wanted them to see: a handful of crude satellites, a few basic space stations, and primitive chemical rockets. Their sensors passed right through the quantum-shifted hulls of Earth's true fleet, their computers dismissing the occasional anomalous reading as background radiation. In her command center on Luna, Fleet Admiral Helena Torres watched the enemy's approach on screens that shouldn't have existed according to humanity's official level of technology. 300 years of deception were about to end. 300 years of presenting a primitive facade while advancing far beyond what the Concordia thought possible. They're proceeding exactly as predicted, her strategic AI reported. Their formation indicates they expect zero resistance. No defensive screens active, no weapon systems charge. Helena nodded. The Concordia's greatest weakness had always been their absolute certainty in their own superiority. They had conquered so many truly primitive civilizations that they had lost the ability to conceive of anything else. Send the signal to all ships, she ordered. Prepare for Phase 2. When they reach the optimal position, we'll show them humanity's true face. Throughout the solar system, hidden vessels acknowledged the order. Weapons that bent space itself were brought online. Defensive systems that could redirect the energy of a supernova were charged. Crews who had trained their entire lives for this moment took their battle stations. The trap was set. The Concordia fleet, supreme conquerors of the galaxy, were about to discover they had walked straight into humanity's carefully prepared killing ground. They thought they were the hunters. They were wrong. In the void between Mars and Jupiter, Sarah Chen watched the enemy ships grow larger on her displays. Soon, very soon, the carefully maintained illusion of human primitiveness would shatter. And in that moment, the galaxy's balance of power would change forever. The hunt was about to begin. But this time, the hunters would become the prey. High Admiral Vexthor of the Concordiad Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, Eternal Dominion, his scaled hands clasped behind his back as he studied the holographic representation of the Sol system. The primitive human defenses appeared exactly as expected: crude satellites, basic orbital platforms, and simplistic weapon systems that wouldn't trouble even the smallest of his escort vessels. Most peculiar, his chief sensor officer reported, mandibles clicking in confusion. We're detecting significantly lower electromagnetic emissions than our initial probe recorded. Their space presence appears to have decreased. Vexthor's secondary eyes narrowed while his primary pair remained fixed on the display. In 3 centuries of conquest, he had never encountered a species that regressed in their space capabilities. Analysis. Unknown, High Admiral. Their ground infrastructure remains intact, but their orbital assets are minimal compared to previous scans. We're also detecting unusual variations in the background radiation, nothing that matches known phenomena. A younger officer might have been concerned by these anomalies, but Vexthor had overseen the conquest of dozens of worlds. Primitive species often behave irrationally when faced with superior civilizations. Perhaps the humans had abandoned their space programs out of fear. It would make no difference to the outcome. Begin the standard approach, he ordered. Prepare the subjugation protocols. As the Concordiate fleet moved deeper into the system, none of their sensors detected the quantum-shifted observers tracking their every move. In her stealth vessel, Sarah Chen monitored the enemy's communications, their overconfidence evident in their minimal encryption. They're completely blind, she whispered to herself. 3 centuries of technological development, and they haven't advanced their detection systems at all. They never needed to. That had been humanity's greatest advantage. While the Concordiate had stagnated, secure in their technological superiority, Earth had advanced in secret, driven by the paranoid certainty that they weren't alone in the galaxy. Every breakthrough, every innovation, had been carefully hidden from view. The void between Mars and Jupiter had become humanity's killing ground. Quantum mines lay dormant in artificial pockets of spacetime, undetectable until the moment of detonation. Stealth platforms housed weapons that could tear apart the fabric of reality itself. And scattered throughout the asteroid belt, thousands of automated drone ships waited in perfect hibernation. On Luna, Admiral Torres received updated tactical projections from her eye networks. The enemy fleet is maintaining their standard conquest formation, her holographic display showed. No deviation from historical patterns. They expect to find the same primitive resistance they've encountered 1,000 times before. She allowed herself a grim smile. Humanity's greatest achievement hadn't been their technological advancement. It had been their ability to keep it hidden. While broadcasting crude radio signals into space, they had perfected quantum communications. While launching chemical rockets, they had mastered gravity manipulation. While building simple space stations, they had created ships that could bend space itself. The Concordiate's fatal flaw was their inability to conceive of a species that would choose to appear weak. Their empire had been built on overwhelming primitive civilizations, with displays of superior technology. They had never considered that a truly advanced civilization might choose to hide its capabilities. High Admiral Vexthor gave the order to broadcast the standard surrender demands, completely unaware that his transmission was being absorbed by quantum fields before it could reach Earth. He watched with growing irritation as minutes passed without response. No reply from the humans, his communications officer reported. Their primitive systems may be unable to receive our transmission at this range. Vexthor's mandibles clicked in annoyance. Move us closer. They will learn to answer when their betters speak. The massive Concordiate warships accelerated, their energy shields dormant, their weapons powered down. They had no reason to expect resistance. No primitive species had ever challenged them successfully. No primitive species had ever revealed itself to be anything other than what it appeared to be. Until now. In her hidden vessel, Sarah Chen received the coded signal she had trained her entire life to hear. Phase 2 begins in 30 minutes. Araya announced. All systems are go. Throughout the solar system, humanity's real fleet powered up their weapons while maintaining their quantum stealth fields. The greatest trap in galactic history was about to be sprung, and the Concordiate would never know what hit them. The hunt was about to begin. The moment of revelation began with silence. As the Concordiate fleet passed the orbit of Mars, Their sensors detected nothing unusual. No desperate radio transmissions, no primitive defense satellites, no panicked attempts at resistance. Just silence. High Admiral Vexthor found himself growing increasingly uneasy. Something felt wrong, though he couldn't explain what. His vast experience told him that primitive species always reacted to first contact in predictable ways, either with futile defiance or immediate submission. Never with this absolute silence. Full sensor sweep, he ordered, his 4 eyes scanning the tactical displays. Find out why they're not. The space around his fleet suddenly blazed with energy signatures. Where moments before there had been nothing but void, now thousands of ships materialized like ghosts emerging from the darkness. They seemed to drink in the light around them, their hulls shifting and flowing like liquid shadow. Impossible, his sensor officer screamed. They're everywhere. The readings, they can't be real. Before Vexthor could respond, a transmission cut through every frequency, bypassing the Concordiate's most sophisticated encryption as if it didn't exist. A human voice, calm and measured, filled the bridge. This is Admiral Helena Torres of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your invasion force has entered a designated combat zone. You have 30 seconds to power down your ships and surrender. This is your only warning. Vexthor's mandibles clicked in fury. Launch all fighters. Raise shields. Show these primitives the might-off. He never finished the order. The human ships struck first, their weapons unlike anything the Concordiate had ever encountered. Quantum-phased projectiles passed through energy shields as if they were meaningless, their shifted mass ignoring what the Concordiate had always considered impenetrable defenses. Shields ineffective. His tactical officer reported, panic evident in his voice. Their weapons, they're operating on principles we don't understand. From her command center on Luna, Admiral Torres watched the battle unfold exactly as their simulations had predicted. The Concordiate fleet, for all its supposed might, had no defense against weapons they had never imagined possible. Their ships tried to return fire, but their energy beams passed harmlessly through quantum-shifted hulls. Target their propulsion systems, Torres ordered. Let's show them exactly how primitive we aren't. Sarah Chen's stealth vessel emerged from its hiding place among the asteroids, joining thousands of others in a perfectly coordinated attack. Her ship's AI, Araya, guided their quantum torpedoes with precision that would have been impossible for organic reflexes. They're trying to send a distress signal, Araya reported. Their quantum entanglement communicators are being blocked by our field generators. They're completely cut off. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted less than 10 minutes. The mighty Concordiate fleet found themselves trapped in a web of technologies they couldn't comprehend, facing an enemy that had spent centuries preparing specifically to defeat them. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, High Admiral Vexthor watched in horror as his ships were systematically disabled, not destroyed. The humans were being deliberately precise, targeting engines and weapons while leaving life support intact. How? He whispered, his mandibles trembling. How could they hide this level of technology? Our probes, our sensors. The answer came from Admiral Torres, her voice still perfectly calm. Did you really think you were the only ones watching? That your probes were undetected? We saw you coming centuries ago, High Admiral. Everything you thought you knew about us was exactly what we wanted you to see. Around the crippled Concordiate vessels, the human fleet moved with perfect coordination. Their ships seemed to phase in and out of reality itself, their quantum-shifted hulls making them appear as nothing more than heat mirages in space. Your empire has grown complacent, Torres continued. You've conquered so many truly primitive species that you forgot the most important rule of warfare. Appearances can be deceiving. Sarah Chen's sensors detected escape pods launching from several Concordiate vessels. Araya's quantum fields gently caught them, preventing their occupants from harm while ensuring they couldn't escape the solar system. The question now, Torres's voice carried a hint of satisfaction, is what humanity should do with an empire that so eagerly preys on those it considers primitive. Perhaps it's time for the galaxy to learn some new rules. The battle was over. Humanity had revealed itself not as the primitive species the Concordia had expected, but as something far more dangerous. A civilization that had chosen to hide its power until the perfect moment to strike. High Admiral Vex Thor stood in the observation chamber of the Luna Command Center, his 4 eyes fixed on the blue-white sphere of Earth hanging in space. Behind him, his captured fleet floated powerless, their mighty engines disabled by weapons that shouldn't exist. The human guards around him carried no visible weapons, yet he could sense the invisible fields of force that would stop any aggressive movement before it began. You understand now, don't you? Admiral Torres entered the chamber, her footsteps silent on the polished floor. Why we chose deception over confrontation. Why we let you believe we were primitive. Vex Thor's mandibles clicked softly. 3 centuries. You watched us for 3 centuries, building your forces in secret, while we thought we were the ones observing you. The greatest victory is the battle not fought, Torres quoted. Your empire's fundamental weakness was always its arrogance. You never considered that a species might choose to appear weak while growing strong. In orbit around Mars, Sarah Chen's vessel Nightshade led a squadron of ships in securing the disabled Concordia fleet. Their quantum tethers held the massive warships in place, while engineering teams systematically documented every piece of alien technology. Analyze their advancement patterns, Sarah ordered. Compare their current technology with our historical data. The AI's response confirmed their suspicions. Minimal innovation over the past 5 centuries, Commander. Their weapons, shields, and propulsion systems show only incremental improvements. They had no reason to advance significantly until now. Throughout the solar system, humanity's true fleet emerged from hiding. Ships that could bend space itself moved into defensive formations. Quantum communication arrays, hidden for centuries, activated openly for the first time. The facade of primitiveness fell away completely, revealing a civilization far more advanced than the Concordia had ever imagined possible. Your empire has conquered thousands of worlds. Torres continued, watching Vex Thor's reactions carefully. How many of them might have achieved what we did if you had given them the chance to develop naturally? How many potential allies did you turn into subjects? The High Admiral's secondary eyes closed in resignation. The Council will never accept this defeat. They will send more ships, more fleets. Torres smiled. We're counting on it. Tell me, Admiral, did you notice anything unusual about how we disabled your ships? Any patterns in our attack? Vex Thor's primary eyes widened as realization struck. You were testing weapons. This wasn't just a defense. It was a combat evaluation. Very observant. Torres nodded. Your fleet provided excellent data on the effectiveness of our various weapon systems. Data that will be invaluable when we take the fight to your empire. In the void of space, Sarah's engineers made another discovery. Commander, HFY reported, we've identified a significant vulnerability in their quantum communication network. Their encryption is based on principles we surpassed a century ago. The implications were clear. The Concordia's entire command and control structure was built on technology that humanity had long since learned to counter. Their empire had grown too large, too quickly, sacrificing innovation for expansion. Your civilization's greatest mistake, Torres told the captured High Admiral, wasn't attacking Earth. It was assuming that technological advancement always follows the same visible pattern. That a species would naturally show its capabilities as soon as it developed them. She gestured to a holographic display showing the Sol system. Hidden installations, quantum shipyards, and defensive platforms became visible one by one. While you watched our primitive rockets and satellites, we were building all of this. While you intercepted our radio transmissions, we were developing technologies you haven't even theorized yet. Vex Thor's mandibles trembled. Why reveal yourselves now? Why not continue hiding? Because the galaxy needs to change, Torres answered simply, "Your empire's policy of subjugating developing civilizations ends now. Humanity is stepping onto the galactic stage, not just as defenders of Earth, but as protectors of all species' right to develop without interference." The captured High Admiral looked again at Earth, seeing it with new eyes, not as the home of primitives to be conquered, but as the center of a power that had outsmarted the mightiest empire in known space. His people's worst nightmare had come true. They had finally encountered a species more advanced than themselves, one that had chosen the perfect moment to reveal its strength. 1 month after the failed invasion of Earth, the galaxy was still reeling from the implications of humanity's emergence. The Concordiate's mighty empire, which had stood unchallenged for millennia, found itself facing a power that had achieved technological superiority through patience and deception. Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the Nightshade, watching as her ship led a diplomatic delegation through the quantum fold towards the Concordiate's capital world. The vessel's stealth systems remained active, though no longer hidden. The shifting quantum fields around the hull served as a constant reminder to all who saw them. Humanity was done pretending to be primitive. "Multiple ships approaching," Araya announced. "Concordiate escort vessels. Their weapons are powered down, but their sensor arrays are at maximum capacity. They're trying to analyze our technology." "Let them look," Sarah smiled. "They won't understand what they're seeing." The human fleet had deliberately chosen to showcase different technological capabilities during this mission, demonstrating that they had barely scratched the surface of their true potential during the Sol battle. On the Concordiate capital world, the Imperial Council gathered in their ancient chamber. The massive holographic displays showed the approaching human ships, their impossible technologies defying everything the Empire had believed about technological progression. Admiral Torres stood before them, her presence a symbol of how completely the balance of power had shifted. "Your empire stands at a crossroads," she addressed the assembled counselors. "The old way of conquest and subjugation ends today. Humanity offers you a choice: adapt to a new galactic order, or face the consequences of continuing your current path." The council chamber erupted in debate. Some counselors called for all-out war, unable to accept the humiliation of submission. Others, including those who had studied the complete data from High Admiral Vexthor's defeated fleet, argued for immediate acceptance of human terms. "You don't understand," Torres continued, her voice cutting through the chaos. "This isn't a negotiation. This is a notification. As we speak, human ships are deploying quantum observation posts throughout your empire. Any attempt to subjugate a developing civilization will be met with immediate intervention. In orbit above thousands of worlds, stealth vessels like the Nightshade took up silent watch. Their quantum fields made them completely undetectable to Concordiate technology, while their sensors monitored every movement of the Empire's ships. Furthermore, Torres activated a holographic display of her own, showing technologies that made even the most advanced Concordiate achievements seem primitive. "We will be sharing certain technological developments with civilizations your empire has conquered. Not weapons, we're not that naive, but enough to give them true independence." The implications struck the council like a physical blow. Humanity wasn't just challenging their military supremacy, they were systematically dismantling the very foundations of imperial control. Back on the Nightshade, Sarah received updates from quantum sensors throughout the galaxy. Already, changes were spreading faster than anyone had predicted. Several subjugated species, emboldened by humanity's example, had begun demanding independence. Others were secretly reaching out to Earth, sharing their own hidden developments. "We've detected quantum signature fluctuations in the Centauri sector," Araya reported. "Similar to our own stealth systems, but using different principles. It seems we weren't the only ones hiding our true capabilities." Sarah nodded, unsurprised. "How many other civilizations chose our path, I wonder? Appearing primitive while advancing in secret. Send word to Admiral Torres. She'll want to know we're not alone in our approach." In the council chamber, Torres delivered her final message. The age of empire through force is over. Humanity emerges not as conquerors, but as guardians. We will ensure that every species has the chance we created for ourselves, the opportunity to develop without interference or coercion. The quantum fields around the human ships rippled, a display of power that was both beautiful and terrifying. The galaxy was entering a new era, one where appearances could no longer be trusted, where technological superiority couldn't be assumed, and where the right of species to develop independently would be protected by those who had mastered the art of hidden advancement. As the nightshade prepared to return to Earth, Sarah looked out at the stars with new eyes. Humanity had changed the galaxy forever, not through overwhelming force, but through patience, deception, and the wisdom to wait for the perfect moment to act. The hunters had become guardians,